You're listening to the Country Chat Podcast with your host, Dom. Subscribe, give a 5-star rating, and follow us on Twitter at country_chat. And stay up to date.
Hi there, this is the Country Chat Podcast with me, Dom. Today I'm going back over to the States and I'm off to speak to Brittany McLamb. Hi, Brittany.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm good, thanks. I mean, you've had a bit of a difficult time recently because you've just undergone surgery.
Yes. Yeah, so I may be speaking a little differently today because I'm only talking out of the side of my mouth. But yeah, I had surgery on Monday. So I've had a lot of swelling and have a huge scar on the side of my face. But I'm doing much better today. So onward and upward.
That's the main thing. I mean, look, I remember watching the Instagram post that you put on, the story, and basically the way they've done the stitching and stuff, you should be left with minimal scarring, which is great, obviously, as a public appearance.
Right, exactly. That's what I was not mainly, but yeah, that was a big concern of mine, was especially when he started telling me, we're going to have to cut this a little differently, and it's going to be a more intense procedure, and but I was like, okay, so what does that mean for my face? Like, I was only expecting like about an inch scar is what I was told initially. And it was quite larger than that. So, but he reassured me, the doctor reassured me that everything was going, once the swelling went down and once the suture had time to heal, that it was all going to just look natural. So we'll see what happens.
That's the main thing. Have they given you like a time frame for when all the stitches will come out and all the scarring will go down, kind of thing?
Yeah, actually, stitches are supposed to come out Monday of next week. And then he said to give him about a month for everything to kind of like settle down, the scars, that healing process take control. And then he would go from there as to whether he needs to do any laser, or if he needs to, I don't know, inject. He said he could inject some steroid into it so that it could prevent the scar tissue from forming. So I think it's just kind of like a wait and see process.
Well, fingers crossed it all comes out perfect.
Exactly. That's the hope.
Now, tomorrow, you've got yourself a single coming out, Wanted.
Yes.
Are you excited?
I'm so excited to finally have this one released. I wrote it several years ago, and what really had taken place is I'd already recorded it. I had a few songs in a group that, I went ahead and recorded, and this one was just one of those ones. Sometimes when you record something, I don't know, there's something about it that you can't put your finger on, that you're like, there's something about it I want to change. I just can't. So I just kind of sat on it, and I didn't release it. And, but it kept, kind of bothering me because I wanted to put it out there because I love this song, and has some really great lines in it that my co-writers, helped contribute on. And so a couple of weeks ago, I was like, you know what? I think it's a good time to put out more. I haven't put out music since last fall. And so I approached my producer and I said, hey, can we revisit this? I'm kind of thinking that I want us to go this direction on it. Can we kind of rearrange? So he was great. And he's like, yeah, I got some ideas that I could do, to like revamp it, to really get that vibe that you're trying to get. So he sent it back and he's like, what do you think about if I do this here and do this here? And I was like, oh my gosh, I love it. Yes. So he changed some things. And so that's what you guys are going to hear tomorrow.
I mean, I'm lucky enough to do things like reviews and to actually witness some of the music that comes out just before it's released. And when I first heard Wanted, I was like, oh my God, this is such a good track.
Thank you so much.
I mean, in my review, I mentioned how it's layered quite nice. Now, what I mean by layered is the way the instruments slowly come in up until you hit the chorus, and then the chorus just, it's like a boom. It's there. It's great.
Yeah, that was part of the change we made. I kind of felt like it needed a lift. And so my producer is also, he used to be my drummer. So, and he's a phenomenal drummer. So in his studio, he has his drum kit, set up, ready to go. And that's what he did. He just went in and put in new drum fills, new drum parts. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, it just makes me want to like turn it up when it gets to the chorus.
Yes.
Yeah. So he did a really good job on it.
That there is like the perfect explanation of how I felt. You just want to crank it straight up and then just jam your head to it. It's great.
Thank you.
So you wrote it several years ago. What was the influences to actually write Wanted?
Well, it's a combination of things, really. It kind of goes along with some experiences that I was having at the time. It also is some of the experiences from my co-writers in the room. I was actually telling someone this yesterday. When I write, or when I go into the room and write with, I usually write a lot with Jonathan and Andrew. And when we go into the room, it's not just me. I draw from things that are going on in their lives, ideas that they have, and that sort of thing. So in the end product, it's kind of like a mashup of a lot that's been going, that goes on with all of us. But I will say, for the most part, it is about an experience with a not so cool guy that I was having at the time.
Yeah. Now this is before your current boyfriend, then.
Absolutely, yeah. Many years before that. Yeah.
Does your current boyfriend now then listen to some of your tracks and then ask you questions about these past relationships?
He has, but he understands that this is something that came way before him, and it's not something we sit around and have chat with a glass of wine, it's nothing like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's been brought up, but he does the same thing. He's a singer-songwriter as well. He's a producer, engineer, and songwriter. So when he writes a song, I'm like, is this about me or is this about a Pat? It's that sort of thing. But
do you ever find that it's not a strain on the relationship, but you feel like you've got to be open and honest, almost straight away, I've wrote this song, just to pre-warn you kind of thing.
Right, exactly. Kind of just a common courtesy, just a heads up, I've written about this experience. And, I had songs that I had written that were about, at the time, a crush that I had at the time. And of course I sing about it or something, or, and there's that, I don't want to say awkwardness, but it's just kind of don't judge me for this. This is way before you, but I want to perform it because I like the song and, that sort of thing.
Well, end of the day, when you write songs, you're writing about your current life experiences. So, if there is a crush at the time, that is what happened. You can't deny that. You can't turn around and say, well, that didn't happen.
Exactly. It's all true life, real life stories that you tell about. So, now, it's just what it is.
It's interesting you say it's true life, real life stories. Now, one of your first singles, Drop That Hoe.
Yeah.
Back in 2015.
Well, and I actually didn't write that song. So that song came about because I was in this talent competition. Oh gosh, I don't even remember the year. It's been at least 7 or 8 years ago. And the prize package of the talent competition, if you won, was that you got so many hours in the studio to record music, right? Yeah. So and it was this management company that was doing it, and I ended up winning the talent competition and I got the hours in the studio, but at the time I didn't have any music and they wanted me to do something then, now. And I was like, okay. So the lady that was head of the management company, she brought these songs to me and there was like a whole bunch of them. And she's like, okay, now we need to pick out, I think it was two songs. So I picked out Dollhouse and I picked out Drop That Hoe. And I picked Drop That Hoe just because it's kind of a fun little play on words and something different. I was like, well, maybe this will make me stick out. And boy, has it ever. But yeah, that,
I mean,
it is what it is.
I mentioned that song because exactly what you said there. I love like the little metaphors and innuendos and similes, between using the word hoe. Obviously, there's a couple of lines where you talk about sowing and seeding, and that's an actual physical hoe. But then there's like the leave it at the bottom of the garden. I love the whole.
Yeah, exactly. And when we did the music video to this, because there is one to this and for Dollhouse, we kind of incorporated both of those viewpoints in the music video. And I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a part where I'm dragging a black trash bag, and it's very, I don't really know how you would describe it, but it's innuendos of what I'm doing, what happened to this person.
That's brilliant. I mean, I work in engineering, so there's a load of innuendos all the time, especially when you're greasing bolts and screws, and you can twist anything to any kind of situation. And anything like that, I just find I think it's the child in me that just finds it so amusing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just fun, right? It's so lighthearted, but yet, it's got some relevance to it.
Well, that's the main thing there. You've got to have, if you don't have fun whilst you're, singing or songwriting or even in the studio, you can't express that emotion the same way. And if you're really not feeling that track, it shows.
Right, exactly.
Now, what I want to know is, we'll go straight back into the past. What was it that actually enticed you into like entering the talent competition, wanting to pursue a career in music? What was it that was the trigger for you?
Well, from the very beginning, I've been in Nashville for this July 5th, it'll be 13 years, which seems like a lifetime. But in the beginning, I guess I was in fourth grade. I was around 10 years old. In my elementary school, we had a pageant, and it was called Little Miss Salemburg. And at the time, I just wanted to win a crown. I was obsessed with crowns, and I wanted to have one. So I got the paper at school that day. I went home. I told my mom, I said, look, I could win a crown. And she's like, okay, like, you've never been in a pageant before. So, and I was like, no, I really want to do it. Talent was not involved, but she, was talent involved? No, talent was not involved. And so I entered it the first year. I had no idea what I was doing. I did not win. I just got like a participation trophy. Then the second year, I entered it, and I think I got like first runner up or something. And then the third year I entered it and I won, which of course was like winning Miss Universe or something to me. And so I got my crown. I was bawling. But then flash forward, when it got time to give away my title at the end of the year, we had to do a talent to do that. That was part of the routine.
Yeah.
And I'd always taken dance lessons. I took like ballet, tap, jazz, that sort of thing. And so my mom just assumed I was going to do a dance routine. And I was like, no, I'm going to sing. And I have the song that I want to sing. And she's like, you want to sing? Brittany, you don't sing. And I'm like, no, but I'm going to. And so she was just kind of like, okay, all right, if that's what you want to do. And so I told her, I was like, I love Shania Twain's If You're Not In It for Love, and that's what I want to sing. And so we got the soundtrack. I practiced it. We went and got the outfit, with the rhinestones and the cowboy hat, cowboy boots, the whole shebang. And I got up there, and I had a whole little routine, that whole dance routine to the song. And performed it. And when I did, the whole entire gymnasium, which is in our school gymnasium, just roared with applause. And I was like, of course, 10, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I like this, like, okay, I could get used to this. And it was like the best feeling in the world. And so it was literally from that point, it was like quick. I got songs. I found a studio. I started recording demos. I started, performing everywhere that had a talent competition. I entered every pageant I could think of that had talent. And it was like, that was the igniter.
Yeah.
Was that pageant. And I mean, I sang in church growing up. We had like a little youth choir that I would sing in, but nothing like spotlighting me or anything. I was just a group of voices, So that's what did it. So by the time I was in high school, I had met a lady by the name of Patsy Bell Cox. And if you were to Google her, you would see that she's very well known. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but she kind of was the reason why I moved here. She kind of gave me that encouragement. She had worked in the music industry for years with Garth Brooks, Tanya Tucker, the old school artists. And she wrote books about them. So, and I've read most of them. They're great. But so she was like, I think you need to go to college, get your college degree, and then you can move here and you can stay with me. And so that's what I did. I went to East Carolina University. I did nothing with music while I was there. I took music classes, but other than that, I did not perform. I just focused on getting my degree. And as soon as I graduated, I went to one job interview. And after the interview, I called my mom and I was like, I'm moving to Nashville.
Yeah.
And she's like, wait, what? Hold on. How'd the interview go? And I was like, no, this is not the life I want to live. I was like, so I'm moving. So she was 100% supportive. And that was July 5th of 2007. And I've been here ever since.
Crazy. What was your mum's reaction then when you entered, going back to the initial talent contest and, you come in, go in the positions that you did, year after year, what was her reactions when you actually finally won it then? Was she overjoyed?
Oh, yeah, she was super excited. And they were actually watching because it was being live streamed. So my whole family was able to watch it as it was happening. So, yeah, they were super excited. And, we're like, oh, my gosh, the sort of reaction you would expect a mom to have, your biggest fan sort of reaction.
Do you have like a copy of the pageants that you were in, like as a memento? Yeah. Oh, you've got to post it.
Well, and I have been after my mom because they're all on VHS.
Yeah.
I was after my mom trying to get her to find those because especially the one of my very first performance of the Shania song, I have pictures of it, but I would love to have that on DVD just so I could, like you said, post it for people to see, but just it's such a starting point for me, and kind of like the foundation of why I'm here. And that was the thing back then. Like if you were in a pageant, they were going to sell you the tape of the pageant. So I have all those.
It would be the first thing I'd buy if I was ever in like a pageant there. It'd be like, okay, then I want the recording now.
Yes. Yes.
That would be awesome to see though. Just to even watch, the initial startups and then seeing you evolve basically, just grow as a person, with talent and then with, just maturity as well.
Well, and what's interesting is I have, from tapes on up to the CD of those demos that I recorded when I was that young. And oh my gosh, I found the tape not too long ago, actually. It's probably like last year or sometime. And I listened to it and it was like, you can just, in my voice, you could hear just the youthfulness, like, because I was young.
Yeah.
And then to know like where I'm at now to compare, it's it's crazy sometimes just to think back. And I have memories of being in the studio when I was that young and thinking, gosh, I literally jumped into it and had no idea what I was doing, but just went for it.
So there was no form of like training or no singing lessons or guitar lessons, that kind of thing that everybody seems to go through?
No, well, so at one point, I think I was probably in 6th or 7th grade at this point, which is like middle school here. There was a lady in our town that taught voice lessons. And my mom thought it would be a good idea for me to go so she could teach me how to breathe and hold notes longer, that sort of thing. And so I started going to her. I only took lessons for like a month because she basically told me anybody can sing country music. And I was like, excuse me, rude. I'm like, no, they can't. Otherwise everyone would be doing it, A. But she was so fixated on me singing opera in different languages that we had like 2 concerts or 2 recitals during that month. And it was me trying to sing like an opera song in a different language. And can you really imagine me trying to sing opera in a different language? No.
That will be interesting.
Yeah. So needless to say, I did not take from her for very long.
Can you remember any of like the lessons or the things that you did with that? Speaking in a different language. Is that like, do you have any evidence? I want to see that. That'd be awesome to see.
No, I don't think I have any recordings of it, but I do. I think I have the sheet music because she would, we'd have to read it off of actual sheet music. And I didn't know how to do that. I didn't play an instrument. I'm like, what are you doing? Finally, she did get the memo when I told her straight up, I'm not singing this. And she gave me, I think it was a Leanne Rimes song, Light in Your Eyes, I think was the name of the song. And I finally was able to sing that at one of the recitals. And I was, of course, so happy because I loved Leanne Rimes at that time. But like, no. We're not singing a French opera song or like Italian opera song. No thanks.
Yeah. They're supposed to look at your strengths, if you, and not even just your strengths, what you want to do. And if someone's trying to force you to do something that you don't want to do, you're just not going to do it. I mean, another from experience.
Exactly. And I mean, my accent has evolved over time just because going to college, people didn't understand me. So I'd had to like enunciate things better and try to speak more, I guess, just standard American accent. And so at that point in time, though, I had a really thick Southern accent. So it just, whatever thought made her think that was going to work, she'd be a great candidate to sing an opera song. Right. I'm like, I just don't know what she was thinking.
Oh, that's funny. When you go home now, then, do you ever like pick up the accent back?
Yes. My boyfriend tells me all the time. He says, whenever I'm talking to my parents, like my parents are here visiting a couple of weeks ago, actually, because that's when I was previously supposed to have my surgery. But they were here visiting and I was on the phone with him and they were talking to me in the room and I was talking back and he's like, every time your parents are around, you pick up that thick Southern accent again. And then like, I think it's what I know. It's what I grew up hearing that and it's always going to be in there somewhere.
I mean, just before we actually started talking today, I apologise. I always apologise in advance because I'm from the north of England and I have not a thick northern accent, but I've got a definite northern accent. So a lot of people don't tend to understand me. So then I have to talk more posh and then be more enunciated. And then, it's never the same. Now, you mentioned that your boyfriend's from the north of England as well.
Sheffield. And I'm not even going to lie, he can attest to this. When we first started dating, most of our conversations were on the phone, of course. I was like having to say, I'm sorry, huh? What? Can you say that again? Because he would talk so fast, and then my ear wasn't used to hearing how he was saying the words, that I felt like 90% of our conversation was me saying, I'm sorry,
Huh?
What?
Huh?
Yeah, huh? But that's, of course, not the same anymore. I'm used to that now, so.
That's good. I mean, the problem, not only that he's in the north of England, he's in Yorkshire. And now Yorkshire's got a very thick accent compared to, say, like Manchester or other parts of northern England. And yeah, how did you actually meet then, you two? You know, was it online or was it through Facebook, that kind of thing?
Oh, okay. So I had a couple of friends that were living here. They're Canadians, but they were living in the US, and they were in a band called Future Thieves. And well, my friend wasn't, her boyfriend was. And Future Thieves toured with the band that Aiden is in, which is Alvarez Kings, toured with them in Europe. And so I guess it was 3 years ago, Alvarez Kings came and did a US tour. And I went with my friend and her boyfriend to the show, you know, because they were wanting to meet back up with the band. And so we did, and I met all the guys. Aiden wasn't a part of the band at this point in time. And so met all the guys. We all hung out afterwards. So I naturally started following the band and everything. And I noticed that they were coming back for a US tour back in 2018. And so my friend and I were messaging, and she's like, yeah, we're going to go to that show. It was at Hotel Hutton, which is right across from where I worked at the time. And I was like, oh, wow, I can just, when I get off work, walk across the street and I'll meet you over there. And she's like, okay, cool. So her boyfriend and his band, we all went to the show. And of course, naturally afterwards, we all went to a bar and hung out. And Aiden he was new to the band. He had taken the electric guitarist position. And so we hit it off. He loves country music, and that's what we talked about the entire night, basically, was just different things about the industry and country music. And it was great. And so they were still here in the US for another month. So during that point in time, they had a show in Chicago. So it was on a weekend where I had nothing to do. So I was like, well, why not? Might as well. Who knows when I'll get to see him again? So I drove to Chicago and went to that show. And ever since then, I mean, that's all she wrote, basically.
Wow.
So
how long's that drive then from, you know, where you live to Chicago?
Oh gosh, it was like 8 hours.
That's some dedication, that.
It is. But, you know, I figured you only live once. And I was like, I may regret going, or I may regret not going. So I'll never know unless I do it. So I did. And I'd never been to Chicago before. Well, actually, I had been to Chicago, but not to the city. I'd been to like the outskirts for a concert with a friend a couple of years before that. But it was great for me because I not only got to see him, but I got to tour the city while I was there. So
win-win.
Win-win, yeah.
Now, has he ever thought of like moving over to Nashville and joining, like, being part of your band?
Well, I'm not sure about being part of my band. I would love for him to be, but yeah, we talk about it all the time. We've been together for 2 years now, and we talk about me moving there or him moving here. We're both up for either option. It just depends on, I think, where we are at the point when it gets to that point. His band is ramping up to release brand new music, and I'm sure they're going to probably try to do tours, you know, so I wouldn't want to like pull him out of that or anything. So I'd love to have him here. I mean, what he does besides, you know, obviously he's a musician, but he works at a studio called Steelworks in Sheffield. And so what he does, obviously, he could do here.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So sweet. It's like, it's almost like a perfect love story.
I know. We talk about that sometimes. We're like, gosh, it was almost like, because we go back through the steps that got us to where we met. And if we had diverted from anything, we would never have met.
Oh yeah.
And so it's kind of crazy if you think about it like that.
See, that kind of concept, I just can never get my head around. I mean, there's a couple of films out there, like Butterfly Effect and Sliding Doors. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but it's about that concept. You know, if you've missed like one step or, you know, something, just one slight thing that's changed can change someone's course massively. Yeah. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it really is. And to me, it lets me know that every step you take and every path you go down is for a reason. And, you know, it's meant for you to go that direction. Sometimes I think maybe you might not realize the reason why until later, but, you know, I think it all has a purpose.
Oh, exactly. Especially as a singer and songwriter, it just gives you so much more to talk about as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
absolutely.
Just got to look at like Taylor Swift or Adele, you know, majority of their relationships that they can talk about, you know, it's out there for the world to see, but it's that inspiration. And if you've got that income of inspiration, it's even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Now, I want to go back even further than starting music. You know, what kind of music was you listening to? You know, what was the influences to actually get you into country music, you know, in particular country music?
Well, I love, just from, as early as I can remember, I loved all kinds of music. I was just fascinated with music in general. I remember listening to, and this is going to sound so, I don't know, amateur or whatever, but I remember when I was little, I had like this tape of nursery rhymes, and I would put it in a cassette player and literally play it over and over and over until I had all the songs memorized, and I would sit there and I would sing along with them. And there were just things, you know, like Three Blind Mice, something silly like that, you know. And but I just loved it because it was just something, I guess, a way of expressing yourself is to do that. And I remember my mom bought me a karaoke machine because there was a year that was like the popular gift to give a kid was a karaoke machine. And so I had that. And so it came, I think, with like a CD of like things. It had like Nirvana on it. Yeah. I remember it had like a couple of other like rock bands. And I would search the lyrics online, and I would sit there and sing Nirvana to the karaoke track. Like, really? What? But it was just that whole thing of, this is music and this is my voice onto this, you know, instrumental version or whatever. But the artist that I listened to the most, that I was just obsessed with, was, of course, I think one everybody would say would be Whitney Houston. I loved Whitney Houston. Her song, I know Dolly Parton wrote it and that she has a version of I'll Always Love You, but I'm sorry, Dolly, Whitney Houston made that song. That's all I have to say about that. And then I also listened to Toni Braxton. I just loved like the texture of her voice. It's just so smooth and rich, you know? Yeah. And so I loved listening to her. Celine Dion. I just loved all the vocal textures, the vocal ranges, that sort of thing. But then I kind of transitioned into the phase where I loved Martina. I loved Leanne Rimes. Of course, they both had the range, which I am a big fan of. And so it was really Leanne Rimes that got me to singing, because I learned how to yodel from listening to her song, I Want to Be a Cowboy Sweetheart. Yeah. And I learned to do that from just listening. And then I started singing the song Blue. And so another little tidbit, in those pageants that I was talking about that had talent, I would sing Blue. I was the only person in these pageants that sang country songs. Everyone else sang like Broadway songs or opera, or they would play piano or do some lyrical ballet or something. And I would get up there in my cowboy boots and I'd sing Blue, which worked for me at the time. But yeah, those were definitely my early female voices that really inspired me and got me to singing country.
Going back to that, the singing blue and going up into your talent shows in like your cowboy boots, at least the main thing is you're being you. You're going up as yourself. You're not trying to be this generic, look at me, I can do this. Look at me, I am me.
Right. Exactly. And I think that worked for me because literally, it's funny thinking about it now, but literally every person that would get up on stage to do their talent, you knew what it was going to be. It would be like, cellophane, Mr. Cellophane. It would be like something like that, or singing in the rain, something like that, or it would be like the same songs over and over and over again. And then I'd get up there singing blue. So it was like, whoa, hold on. Completely different, and to the point where people knew me as the country singer. Like when I would enter a pageant, they'd be like, oh, that's the country singer. So it worked for me, but I think now people probably do sing country.
That's the main thing, though. Like I say, because you're being you, that is the quirky difference to make you stand out. I mean, whenever you go for a job interview, you need something that makes you different from everybody else, and that's what gets people either a job or win competitions or that kind of thing. And doing that's fantastic. And end of the day, you're having fun.
Exactly. I was having a ball. I loved it, and I wouldn't be in anything unless it had a talent portion. A lot of pageants were just based on beauty, and that did nothing for me. I was like, I do not want to be in this pageant unless I can get up on stage and sing. So,
are we expecting any form of after Wanted? Are we expecting like a new EP from you, or is there any future releases that we can expect?
That is something I was supposed to start in the spring, but then COVID kind of all that. But yes, I plan to write, excuse me, I plan to write some new music, and my goal is to release a new EP by early 2021. So I may have another song that comes out before the end of the year, but if not, for sure, an EP in 2021.
Awesome. Do you know how many kind of tracks you're going to be having on it? That kind of, where the direction the EP is going to go in? Do you have anything pre-planned in your head?
I want something fresh and a little bit new, meaning I feel like a lot of my songs they're in the same vein. I want to kind of step out of that box and do something a little different. And with Aiden being, in the music industry and producing, he has that ear, especially he does a lot of pop. And I want to influence a little bit more of that, but not in the way that it's been heard kind of thing.
Yeah. So
he and I are going to be working together to write some music and to get that going. I'm thinking probably 4 to 5 songs ish. So it just depends on, I guess, the tunes that we can write. And if we write more that I want to put on, then of course it'll be a little bit longer, but I don't want to force it. That's the main thing. I don't want to force write tracks and just throw them on there. I want it to be purposely done.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I can't wait. I mean, like I mentioned at the start, Wanted, I absolutely love. So if anything's going to be as good as Wanted, I'm really excited.
Well, thank you.
Now,
I do know.
Go on.
I was going to say quickly, I do know that the release of this isn't going to be the end of this song. I think we have another few things in the works for this song that may be available on iTunes. So
keep an eye out. Oh, I can't wait. I mean, I've already got it pre-saved, and yeah, I'm looking. Like I say, I've listened to the song already, but I want it for myself as a physical copy, and I've got it there on my phone, ready just to as soon as it's released, it'll be there. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Do you have any form of like merchandise that you sell on your website or anything like that?
I do, yeah. I recently had taken the store off for a little bit, but I've put it back on there. I've got lots of koozies. That's a huge thing here in the U.S. is koozies.
I love
Aiden's
koozie.
always like, yeah, Aiden's always saying, do people in England, do we really use them? And I was like, I don't know. Do you? I'm like, and he's like, well, what's it for? And I'm like, well, I guess your beer can. But, you know, he drinks like Stones and things like that. So it's not like he's used to getting the pint. So
yeah,
to him, it's like, why do I need a koozie? But yeah, so I have tons of koozies and all kinds of colors. I have only a few T-shirts left out of the original batch that I had printed up. I do want to get new ones of those, but I don't want to get them until I sell out of these. And then let's see, what else do I have? I think I have like some photo cards and things like that, some little buttons. But yeah, with an EP, there will be new merch for that. So that's to come.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just looking at your store now, and you've got black and white color photo cards. You've got color photo cards. The koozies look amazing. There's a Mossy Oak Festival koozie, and it's like a camouflage effect, and it looks great.
Yeah. That's a big thing here in the South is camouflage.
I don't know why.
Yeah, I have no idea why.
Obviously, for everybody out there that doesn't get that, hunting in the US is quite a big thing. You know, whether it's hunting for buck or doves, or by doves, it's like a wood pigeon type thing. It's a great way of managing livestock, and a lot of people do it for food. You know, have you ever been hunting yourself, or is that the kind of thing your family used to do?
My brother-in-law, he hunts all the time. He and his son, they hunt deer, bucks, and they'll hunt it, and then there are families in the area that eat it, so they'll give it to them for food. But yeah, they hunt that, they hunt ducks. I'm trying to think if there's rabbits, they do rabbit hunting. They have special beagles that go and hunt the rabbits.
Yeah.
And I have been hunting. I've been deer hunting, and I think actually I've been rabbit hunting once. Yeah, I've been rabbit hunting once, and it was an interesting thing because you let the dogs out, and the dogs just like sniff, 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 and they get the trail. They pick up the scent of the rabbit's trail, and then they lead you to them, which is crazy.
Saves you a lot of work.
Yeah. But I will tell you that I don't really hunt much anymore, but the areas that my brother-in-law has on his farm, that he has like the deer stands where you get up in there and you sit and you wait.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And you go first thing in the morning before the sun comes up so that you're up there before the deer come out to eat, and which sounds really awful. But anyways, so you get up there and you wait, but it's just when the sun comes up, everything is like kind of moist from the dew that has fallen that morning. Our deer season is October through the 1st of December, I think, or the end of November. Yeah. So it's kind of short. It's only a couple of months, but it's cold here. So, you're up there, waiting. And so it's just so pretty. It's so quiet. You can hear literally everything. You can hear a squirrel bouncing from branch to branch. You know, it's just, it's kind of, it's fun.
That's one thing that, especially when you go camping here in the UK, if you ever go to like the Peak District or like the North York Moors, and when you're in that quiet, that bliss, it is so crazy how much you actually do hear when you just stay still. Don't speak, don't just move. It's so loud.
Yeah, it really is. You wouldn't think so, but you can hear everything. It's almost like it's amplified. You can hear a bug crawling on a leaf, it seems like. But yeah, and what's interesting is I've seen so much wildlife other than deer while we've been in there. Like I've seen a bobcat walk right by where we were sitting. We've seen wild turkeys in flocks just walking, and, their feathers fan out, and there's a pond nearby. So when the sun comes up, ducks, this is of course also during duck season, ducks will tend to fly over as they're basically, I guess, like waking up for the morning or whatever. So you'll see that, and you'll hear them like making their noise as they fly over. So it's a fun experience. It's not something that I'd want to do every day because you have to get up super early, but it is an interesting experience.
On a normal day, then, what kind of times do you get up?
Well, with the day job, I get up usually 5:45, 6 a.m. But with the COVID, I've been working from home.
Yep.
So I've been sleeping in until about 7:30. And then I get up at 7:30, I shower, and then start the day, check the emails, that sort of thing. So it's been actually really nice working from home because I can do my work, but I can also do my music stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was working at the office, I'd have to like sneak it in between. Like when the manager wasn't looking, I'd have to like send my music emails or like, create this promo photo or something, so it's been really nice having this extra time to do things at home.
What do you do as a day job then?
Well, I was an admin assistant for a sales company, and this is awful. Actually, this has not been a good week for me. The company laid me off, actually. So I'm currently looking for a new job.
So anybody listening out there, in the UK, that's what we want.
Yeah.
We want you to come over here now.
That's right. Yeah. It's, gosh, the COVID situation really has affected so many people in that regard with jobs here. So many people are unemployed, and now I'm one of them. But, gosh, yeah, it'll all work out.
I'm sure it will. I mean, like you mentioned, this whole situation, it's just it's unknown, it's unprecedented, it's something that no one's ever been through, and especially companies as well. As much as we hate the fact of people being laid off, sometimes there's no other way around it, and it's painful. I mean, because you've got bills to pay, you've got your own stuff to sort out, and studio time's not cheap. End of the day.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Gosh. Well, and then paying a band, to play gigs. But of course, really, there's not a whole lot of gigs right now outside of your living room, live sessions. But yeah, it's so pricey. And of course, when I was working full time, I had a side gig where I would nanny. I'd been nannying for like 8 years, and I can't even do that now because people don't want someone coming into their home with COVID going, around. So even that has stopped. So, yeah. But fortunately, I'd been kind of planning for something like this, not for COVID, but I've been planning for a different career change. So I'd been taking some online classes for real estate. So, yeah. So that's in the works. So hopefully I go to take my exam on July 8th, I think it is. So hopefully I can pass the exam and
fingers
get
crossed
my
for you.
license. Yeah.
Do you have like a virtual tip jar or anything that people can go to and donate?
I have for a couple of the live streams. But other than that, I mean, it's been, we all have like the PayPal me or whatever it's called. I have that, but I don't know. Is that something? Do people do that? They just have it hanging out? People can donate?
Usually. I mean, especially, even if somebody can, whether it's, donate money or whether it's going onto your merch store and, buying something, it goes back to you and it'll help. It helps out. Like I say, everything that comes with it, it's not cheap. And now, obviously, with being without a job at the moment, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, it is. I may have to post that. I don't know.
But yeah, like I say, you know, fingers crossed that the whole real estate side works out. You know, last thing I want is, you know, it affecting the music, and that's all. That's the main thing why we're here, is because we enjoy your music so much. And if you can't do that, then it hurts us as well as it hurts you.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep on keeping on, whether, you know, whatever I have to do to get that going. So, definitely not going to let that slide.
And everybody in the UK, I've got multiple koozies, and they are amazing. If it doesn't even have to be a can of beer, it can be a can of Coke or whatever you're drinking. Just slip it on, and yeah, it keeps it nice and cool.
Yes, and it keeps your hand from getting cold from holding it. It's
perfect.
It's like the trendy thing to do, guys.
I'm actually surprised it's not a massive thing over here for the amount of, you know, canned drinks that we have over here. It's strange.
Yeah, and you know, you guys have a lot of festivals too. That's like the big thing at festivals here is everybody. It's like, did you bring your koozie? Yeah, I got mine. Do you have yours? Even like at the bars here, people always, girls usually, always have their koozie in their purse. And if they go somewhere, they'll pull it out and stick their bottle or the can or, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know.
So, yeah, everybody go to brittanyMcLamb.com/store, and it's all there. You can see everything on that. Now, when can we expect you back in the UK? Because you've been here a couple of times now, you know, and performed.
Yeah. Well, depending on travel restrictions and such, which I think the UK is allowing international flights in now, but there's like a 14-day.
Yeah, it's a bizarre thing at the moment. I think it's an air bridge scheme. So if it's a country that's got a low number of corona cases, there's not much of a quarantine period. But if there's like a high number, which I think the US does have still quite a extremely large number of cases, you know, I presume the 14-day quarantine period will still apply.
Depending on all that, I do have it planned for the end of the very last day of July as travel day, and then not getting there till the 1st of August. But that, you know, is obviously just dependent upon circumstances. And it would be going back to Sheffield. I had a show planned there in May with a friend, but hopefully I can reschedule something while I'm there. I know while I'm there, I'm definitely going to be writing. That's a priority on my list. But yeah, fingers crossed, end of July, beginning of August.
Well, don't just do Sheffield. You need to come up to York as well.
Oh, yeah, I know. We'll have to go back up there. Well, because, you know, last time I rented a car and drove in England for the first time ever. And do you know, and Aiden had me drive on Snakes Pass. Do you know what that is? Yes. Yeah, straight from the airport. I'm in the car driving on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, where am I driving right now?
Oh, did you fly into Manchester then?
It did, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for everybody out there that doesn't really know what Snakes Pass is, there's two, like, not off-road, but like a road coming from Manchester to Sheffield. There's the Snakes Pass, and then there's Woodhead Pass. And they're very, very twisty and turny and hilly, and there's a lot of blind corners, a lot of blind summits, and yeah, it's a bit scary, even for experienced drivers, especially when it's snowing as well.
Yeah, exactly. And what's crazy is we didn't see the wreck happen, but there were lots of motorbikes that were, of course, I was driving super slow because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall over the cliff. But there were these motorbikes that would zoom past us, and we saw them and we're like, oh, that's not going to be good. And we got up a ways, and sure enough, one of them had wrecked, and it was there's like at one area, there's like a little restaurant or something kind of tucked away. And that's where they had wrecked, and everybody was like standing around them. Like he like just bit the dust. Yeah. He was going too fast, obviously, you know? And I was like, see, I knew it. I knew that was going to happen, you know, but, and then just being a first-time driver in the UK, I would not suggest taking Snakes Pass. It's like the scariest thing ever.
I mean, I've driven the States quite a bit now, and the thing that I always find fascinating with driving in America is the width of the roads. Roads in America are just so much more wider than here in the UK. I mean, we'll travel down, A roads at national speed limit, which can be 60 mile an hour at times. And for how narrow and twisted they can be, it's like, wow, I'm so used to driving on narrow roads. Going to a wide road is just like, what?
Yes, that's one thing I could not get over is the speed that was allowed on those tiny roads. I was like, surely this is not right. And he's like, no, it says 60. I'm like, what? And if you don't go 60 or a little above, people behind you are like honking at you, like doing this number, like trying to go around you. And I'm like, get me off the road.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but I did like having the car though, because that we got to go to York and tour around and
what do you think to York?
It was beautiful. I thought it was so pretty. And we had a nice day. The whole time I was in Yorkshire, I don't think it ever rained. If it did, it was just like a little sprinkle, which is weird, right?
I mean, yeah. I look out the window now, and it's just howling it down here. And just I live in like a little village just on the outskirts of York, and it's just been horrible all day. Yesterday it was nice and sunny, but today it's just been terrible.
That's what Aiden said. He said, "Hope I don't." He was walking to the studio because it's right by. He lives right by the studio, and he's like, "Hope I don't get drowned, like wet and drenched because it's really raining here today." And I was like, "Oh, it's a little cloudy here, but most of the time it's sunny here. We haven't had rain in like a week." I'm
sure these studios that your boyfriend works at, is it near the football stadiums, the soccer stadiums? I can't remember.
It's like downtown Sheffield.
Yeah.
It's semi close to the train station.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. If I'm ever free, I'll have to go for a wander.
You should. Yeah. And then when I'm in Sheffield, we'll have to maybe meet up or something and go to York and meet up.
That's the main thing. You and your boyfriend, we'll have to go out and grab ourselves a coffee or a cup of tea.
Yeah, exactly.
Just before Andrew was telling me about Betty's tea room.
Yes.
Go on, explain to everybody what your experience was with Betty's.
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like it's probably like a tourist place, but we were just looking for a place to get a good afternoon tea I had in my head, as obviously every American, we're like, oh, we want like that tiered tray of desserts and sandwiches. Like that's what I wanted. And so he's like, well, I know just the place. So we were in York that day and we saw Betty's Tea Room. Well, of course, they have two locations.
Yeah.
And one location is way bigger. And it was like the line was wrapped around. But then the other location, which is kind of like tucked away on a little street, there was no one waiting. So we walked right on in, went upstairs. We each got our own because I was like, I am not sharing this stuff with you. Sorry, I love you, but I'm not sharing. So we each got our own tiered trays of goodies and some tea. And it was wonderful. It was so good. I'll tell you, my favorite thing was the coronation chicken sandwiches.
Yeah.
So good. I've tried to recreate that and I cannot do it. It does not taste the same.
That's the crazy thing is, I mean, I've seen videos. There's been a couple of videos going over like TikTok and Twitter of like Americans trying to recreate cups of British tea.
Oh,
and
I know what you're talking about.
The one where they microwave it, and I know kettles in the US aren't a thing really, because you've all got the Keurigs or you've got like stovetop type things, but in the UK we've got electric kettles where we just boil the water and then we put it in, then we put the tea bag in, let that brew for a bit, and then we put the milk in. But they were like putting the milk in first, and I was just watching it thinking, oh my goodness, what on earth?
For starters, don't let them fool you. Nobody in America drinks tea like that. Most people don't drink hot tea. And most people, if they do, they don't put milk in it. It's just straight up just tea, hot. It's not like they don't add anything. So I'm not really sure. I feel like that was kind of like a staged video. I think they were trying to get some.
I hope so, because it actually infuriated a lot of Brits.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw them the posts about that. But I will say I have been taught the proper way to make it, and I love it now. So, and I do have a kettle. That was one thing I was told that I had to get, because of course that is not a thing here. People just don't really have kettles. I'd say for the most part, some people probably do, but I do have one, and I do make it the right way. And I use PG tips. We have those available here. That's what
I'm gonna have to send you a care package over of Yorkshire tea. Yorkshire tea is so much more better.
Yeah, and we don't have that here, but we do. The only one that we do have is the PG tips. But yeah, and I love it. It's so good. I'd never thought we're used to drinking like sweet tea, like cold tea.
Yeah.
And I mean, I drink hot English breakfast tea, but that's like my morning thing that I do to get started. Like people drink I don't drink coffee, so I drink that as my coffee. But I never thought adding milk to it would be good. I'm like, ooh, why would you do that? But now it's like, of course I'm going to add. Oh, and don't get me started on okay, I think Aiden calls them Chalky Bickies.
Oh, chocolate biscuits.
Yeah, they're the McVites. McVites?
Oh, McVitties.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Dip that in your tea. That is like the best thing ever.
You see, these are normally the questions I ask at the end of the podcast. You know, do you drink coffee or tea? And do you have biscuits? You call them cookies in America. And, you know, do you dunk them in your coffee or tea? And that's so great to know that you've picked up this great British tradition.
Yes, I love it. I feel like, honestly, I feel like I could fit right in over there, just because that sort of stuff. I mean, granted, of course, I call, potato chips, and chips are fries, and fries are that whole thing, it's so confusing. And then the cookies and biscuits, we actually have biscuits that we call, what they are. Yeah.
It's like
so other than that,
scone, aren't they?
Yes, exactly. And they're not usually sweet though; they're usually like buttered.
Yeah, I've never really been a big fan of biscuits though. That's the frustrating thing. I mean, when I used to go to San Antonio quite a lot, the like McDonald's biscuits and the ones that you get Cracker Barrel and all that lot, it wasn't. I just don't. I'm more of a sweet person, and I think it's just a bit too savoury and a bit too stodgy for me.
Yeah. Aiden is the same way. He does not like a lot of bread, which we do. We love thick, buns, with the biscuits. The thicker the biscuit, the better. And he always takes one of them off. He's like, it's too much bread, too much starch. I'm like, what? No, it's a sandwich. You gotta eat the whole thing. And he's like, no. So it must be a British and American thing.
What's the most favourite thing you've eaten in Britain?
I was just telling about this yesterday. Okay, there's two things. So as far as like a regular meal, I absolutely love like Sunday roast and a Yorkshire pudding. I could eat a million Yorkshire puddings. Just put just a huge thing of gravy on it for me, and I'll be set. Right. There's a place in the Sheffield area called the Carvery. I think it might be a chain. I'm not sure.
Toby Carvery.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I think it's so good. It reminds me of like my mom's Sunday dinner when she would cook after church on Sundays. So we went there. I think he was trying to give me like the full experience of the food, And so then we were driving to Castleton one day, and on the way we passed a little village called Hope, and I was like, oh, that is so cute. Let's stop. I want to just kind of mill around a little bit. And so we did. And I think the place is called Old Hall Tea Rooms, or
know exactly what you mean.
Yep. So we stopped there and got lunch and tea, and the room that we were sitting in had like all these glass cake dishes, and they were like lined up down this table or something. And I was like, I am not going to be able to leave here without getting a piece of one of these cakes because I love sweets. And so we walked over, and usually I would pick something chocolate, but I was like, no, I need to try something different. So we got a Victoria sponge, and I was obsessed. I'm like, yep, that's my favorite. Love that. Give me that all day, every day.
Love Victoria sponge.
Yeah. Those are my two faves, but I will say every time I go over, we'll go to a store, and you guys have such a great assortment of sweet things. Like, our selection here sucks compared to you guys. And so I have like my little cart or my little basket, and I'm taking things, and like the whole thing is nothing but like sweets and what are they called? Angel slices.
Yes.
Oh, that's another thing I love. Angel slices. Yes. All that kind of stuff. Yeah. So good.
Does Aiden ever send you like hampers of like different sweets and stuff from the UK to the US?
Yes. He did back in last fall, I think it was. He sent it. And don't you know, he sent it. So he sent it to my work because it's just because I was there all day. So he didn't want it sitting on my front porch in case somebody wanted to snatch it or whatever.
Yeah.
So the number on the address got kind of mixed up or something. And so it had my name on it though. And it had my company name on it. But somehow or another, someone from another office in the building got the box, opened the box, and had it sitting in their cubicle, had my angel slices sitting, just sat out in the cubicle. And when I finally tracked it down, I went up there, and the lady said, oh, yeah, this is the guy I think that took the box. And we walked up there, and I looked, and he had all my stuff sitting out, spread out in his desk. I was like, oh, no. Oh, no. He hadn't eaten anything, thank goodness. But I was like, those are mine. My name is on this box.
He's probably trying to work out exactly what everything is. An angel slice.
Right.
What is this?
Exactly. Yeah. But, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, just to go back to like the music side of things, you've opened for a lot of big names.
Yes.
Like Lanco. Yeah. Like, how did all those come out? How did it all come about?
So back home, I'm originally from North Carolina. So there's a radio station in my hometown that, well, actually there's two different ones. There's one called 94.7 WQDR, and there's one called WKML 95.7. And they have shows quite a bit, and they have openers. And, it took a little finagling, but I got in there with them, and they both actually started playing my music. And so from that, I kind of had created a relationship with the radio stations, and they had some shows coming up, and they needed openers. And so they contacted me, and they were like, yeah. So especially, I think it was the one with, what was it? Brooke Eden and Granger Smith, or was it? I think it was that one. Gosh, my brain is not as good as it used to be. But yeah, so it would be like, these are the artists performing. Would you like to be an opener? And I'm like, duh, like, why? That's not even a question. Of course. And so, that's how those happened. And then the ones with Lanco, and the one with Parmalee, it was a festival that was happening in a town close to mine, and the radio station was sponsoring it. And so they contacted me and got me hooked up with that. So they were really good to me, as far as that goes.
That's awesome. Do you ever I say this quite a lot, but do you ever look at like situations that you've got in and you just think, wow, I'm here, I'm doing this. How on earth has all this happened?
Yeah. Well, and the thing with the radio station WKML is I grew up every single morning. My mom would be getting ready and she'd have the radio on and it would be on that station. So I grew up listening to them from a small kid up until I moved out of the state. And so whenever they started even playing my music, I was like, oh my God, like, is this real life? Like, I grew up listening to you guys, never knowing or dreaming that my music would be played on your station.
Yeah.
And then to be opening up for these artists because of you, like, it's just kind of, it's cool and a surreal kind of feeling.
Yeah. Pinch yourself. Are you dreaming kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think I've asked everything I need to ask. Is there anything you want to throw into the mix? Anything that I've missed?
Well, because of being in quarantine, we did, I'm sure you saw on a lot of the socials, everyone was doing those collaborations, the quarantine collaborations.
Yeah.
And so I did a couple of those. So, if folks want to go check out, I think I put them on my YouTube, so they're on there as well. I did one with Tim Proddy Jones, and his vocals are just phenomenal to me. And we did a cover of Lady Antebellum, or I guess I should say Lady A's.
Lady A.
Yeah, Ocean. And then Aiden and I did one where I did it by myself. So yeah, those are a couple of the newest videos that I have done and released or put out there for everyone to hear. So
where can people find those videos?
I think I've posted them on all of my socials, but they're also available on YouTube, which would just be youtube.com/Brittany McLamb.
And then your socials, it's just at Brittany McLamb and Brittany McLamb Music.
Twitter is just my name at Brittany McLamb, but Facebook and Instagram is Brittany McLamb Music.
Awesome. Now, we've getting to the end of this podcast, and I like to, like I mentioned earlier, I like to ask a couple of questions. Now, we've gone through a couple of them already. The coffee and tea one, and biscuits, Dunkin'. And there's two questions that are like a debate-ish kind of question. Now, I don't know if this applies to you guys in America, but I don't know if you've seen them here in the UK, but there's something called the Jaffa Cake. Now, have you ever had a Jaffa Cake? What would you say a Jaffa Cake is? Would you say it's a cake or is it a biscuit?
A cake.
A cake? Fantastic. Mm-hmm. That's what I always used to say, but a lot of people call it a biscuit.
I definitely think, because here we have something called Little Debbie.
Yeah.
That's our version of like Kipling's, I guess. And all those I consider like little cakes. So I definitely think a chocolate cake would be, which I could eat a whole sleeve of those things in one sitting. Oh my gosh, you're so good.
Oh, I can eat multiple sleeves.
Yeah, I probably could too, actually.
And the last like debatish question is, would you have pineapple on pizza?
No, if it's a savory pizza. That's not really my thing. But back home, we have an Italian restaurant that they make a dessert pizza that has pineapple on it. So it's like the crust with some icing and I think maybe like some cream cheese and then pineapples, and they bake it. And so that way, yes.
Ooh, that sounds different. That's a different that's a different answer to the question. I've never heard that before, and that sounds really, really nice.
Yeah, it is very good.
Awesome. Now, last few questions. It usually refers to like a night out. So here in the UK, you've probably experienced it now. We've got things called a pub. Now, where would you rather go for a drink? Would it be in a pub, a club, or a bar?
Absolutely, for sure.
A pub. Mm-hmm. Now, in a pub, what kind of drinks would you have? What is your go-to drink?
I'd say anything light.
Light.
Like light, probably a light beer or something.
Like a Bud Light.
It has to have yeah, but maybe a little step up from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I don't like for instance with I can't remember what they're called. Like Stones, I do not like that. It does not have carbonation in it. It has to have carbonation.
Oh, yeah. So, you don't like ale. You like the lagers kind of thing.
Right. Exactly. Yep. There you go.
So you like lagers. Do you prefer like a pint of lager, or do you like a bottled lager? A pint. And then finally, to go from having a drink, say you're a bit tipsy, you're a bit drunk, and you're going home. Here in the UK, we've got a lot of like kebab shops where you can have something to eat, like just to sober up the alcohol. What kind of things would you eat when you've had a bit to drink and to sober up that alcohol? What's your go-to food?
Either pizza, maybe some good curry.
Some good what?
Curry, like Indian
curry.
Food.
Oh, Indian.
Yeah.
Is that just in the UK, or do you have Indian food?
Yeah, we have that here.
Oh, awesome. I mean, every time I've gone to like Texas, there's only been I think there's only ever been one curry house. I don't see it that much. Obviously, because especially southern states, it's more of your Tex-Mex and your southern foods, so you don't tend to look for it more. But
there's quite a few here in Nashville.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's very strange for an American to say curry. It's brilliant. I love it.
Well, and there was one place that we went late night to in Sheffield, and I don't remember the name, but it was so good, like so good. and actually, we were the last people in there, and it was shutting down. But I've told Aiden, I was like, we're going back there. I'm not sure what the name of that was. I don't even know what we got, but it was really good.
Yeah, here in the UK, we've got a load of like kebab, like Turkish kind of food where it's just like doner meat in like a pita bread. Doner meat's like a lamb thing that's on like a spit, and they cook it slowly and it revolves and they carve it off and it goes into like a pita bread. That's what usually people have here in the UK. So next time you're here, you need to make sure you have try something like that. I don't know. Or you get chicken versions, and there's different versions you can get.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm not, I told Aiden, my last name has lamb in it. And I was like, I just don't know if I want to eat my ancestors. I'm just not so sure I want to do that.
That's brilliant. And the last question really is, if you had the choice to have a fast foody type meal, like say McDonald's or KFC or whatever, or say a pizza that's done quickly, or the choice to have a sit-in restaurant meal, what would you rather have?
Gosh. I don't really eat fast food a whole lot. But the one fast food that I would eat all the time, if it wasn't so bad for me, is Chick-fil-A. Oh, have you had that?
Yes. Yeah.
That's like my thing. So I would prefer that, but being that I don't eat that very often, we have, and you may have had this when you went to Texas, but we have Chuy's.
Yes.
Yeah. Tex-Mex, Mexican with the creamy jalapeno dip. Yep.
Proper queso and...
Yes. Absolutely.
Oh, I don't know if you can see my T-shirt, but I'm wearing a Whataburger T-shirt.
Yeah.
That's
one place I've never been or never tried that I want to try.
Definitely go for it. It is out of this world.
Is it? I've heard it's really good.
Now, in the UK, I think there's talks of Chick-fil-A coming here, but
really,
I know. I think it's in London. I don't know. It's what I've heard on the grapevine, but I'm really, really excited if it does. And I just hope Whataburger jump on board as well and come here.
You would think, I mean, because London, they have everything, really. I mean, any type of food you could think, they have it. So it wouldn't surprise me. But gosh, that would be awesome.
I just hope it comes up north. I don't want to be travelling 200 miles down to London and...
Just for Chick-fil-A.
I probably would, though, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for coming on, Brittany. It's been absolutely fantastic talking to you.
Yes, likewise. Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Everybody check out Wanted tomorrow. Is it a midnight release? Midnight US time, Central. So that'll be 6 a.m. in the morning tomorrow. It'll be released for us.
Yep.
Awesome. So everybody check that out. And if you haven't already, check out Brittany's previous songs. It's all on Apple Music and Spotify and basically anywhere you can find music. So check it out and follow her on the socials. Take care, everybody. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
That was the Country Chat Podcast. Join Dom next time for exclusive interviews, reviews, and general chit-chat on all things country music.